From the Oklahoman newsroom, this is an OU football update. I'm Jenny Carlson here with Ryan Aber. Ryan, the Heisman talk is percolating around the country. I think a lot of people thought until maybe a week or 10 days ago, Lamar Jackson, the Louisville quarterback, was maybe a foregone conclusion. He may still be, but there's definitely more names out there, and two surfacing from OU, with Baker Mayfield, the quarterback, and Dede Westbrook, the wide receiver, being on some watch lists, being on some straw polls out there. What do you make of these two guys' place in the Heisman conversation? How about that?
Well, I think combined they've got a great shot, but the problem is OU isn't going to promote one or the other. They've got to promote both, and voters are going to be really reluctant to put two guys on their ballot that are from the same school, and especially the same school that, while they've got an outside chance, they're not a foregone conclusion to make the college football playoff. These are two guys who played during those two games that OU lost during their first three of the season, and it's going to be a really difficult hill to climb for either of these guys for different reasons. Yeah,
well, let's talk about that. In your mind, what are the two? I mean, in addition to the fact that it's really hard to have two legit candidates from the same school, what do you feel like is the barriers for both these guys?
Well, let's start off with Baker Mayfield, and the barrier for him is that he's much more of a pocket passer this year, and while that may make him a better NFL prospect, it leaves him without the flashy numbers on the ground, especially that really make up a Heisman Trophy campaign for quarterbacks now, unless you're just going off the charts good. He's on pace to set the best NCAA passing efficiency rating in history, which is phenomenal, but that's not a stat that many people look at. His yardage is fantastic. His completion percentage is up over 70%. He's got a lot of touchdowns, but Lamar Jackson, while he doesn't have as much passing yardage, he's got more total yardage because he's better on the ground. So that's the barrier for him. And for Dede Westbrook, the barrier is, one, wide receivers don't get much attention at all. Yeah. There's only been two wide receivers who have won the Heisman Trophy, Tim Brown and Desmond Howard. That doesn't happen very often. It's been a long time since Desmond Howard at Michigan. So that's a tough hurdle to overcome. And the hurdle just being, like I said, they're both on the same teams. There haven't been many wide receivers even finish in the top 10, but even fewer where you have a quarterback wide receiver tandem. I think it's like 3 in the last 50 years.
Well, and Larry Fitzgerald, I mean, it's been a long time since Larry Fitzgerald was a go to New York finalist. That was your Jason White wins the Heisman, right. So that gives you a little perspective. Last thing, though, one more closing argument for these guys, that Bedlam game. Is there a chance if one of these guys, or maybe both, have a big day that day, could that potentially propel, or are a lot of ballots already in at that point?
Well, I would hope that voters are smart enough to hold on to their ballots to that point, because you'll have some of the other big teams, right. Alabama, with their fantastic quarterback, will be playing in the SEC championship that game. You have Clemson playing with Deshaun Watson, although I'm not sure he's quite in that conversation of the top 2 or 3 guys. But if I was a voter, and I'm not, I don't vote for the Heisman Trophy, I would hold on to it to the last possible minute just because of that. You want as full a picture as possible, and with both of these guys, I mean, if Dede Westbrook has a couple catches like he had against West Virginia, I mean, that 75-yard play is one that Heisman campaigns are built around.
Right.
If he has a day like that, or if Baker has a phenomenal day and has to make a couple plays with his feet, you could see him leaping up. Lamar Jackson isn't going to be playing that day.
Right.
They go out of their conference for their last game this week, but that could be a big final statement for the Heisman Trophy voters.
Something to definitely watch. And we're out of the business of voting for the Heisman in this building, but the way I understand it, the voting has gone largely electronic. So people can wait and vote until after those last games. I think that's part of the reason why they've gone largely electronic. So that leaves a lot of people to see those closing arguments before sending in those ballots.
Yeah, absolutely. I do vote for a couple of awards, and I wait till the last possible minute to do it just because of that. You don't want something crazy to happen at the end, and then while there's still time to vote, you're sitting there going, well, I wish I would have waited.
Right, exactly. All right, be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.